Hello guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to have another speed run, but because of your feedback, we're going to be doing 5-3 instead of 3 minutes like we did last time. Now, one thing that you should know, we're already getting started. We're going to be using as the white pieces, we're going to be playing the Colle system. And I'm going to be telling you more as we start. And by the way, to my surprise, you wanted to hear me talk more. You wanted to hear more feedback. And that's why we're doing the longer time control. Now, with the Colle, guys, I'm going to be trying to stick to the same setup that we covered in lesson number 104. Now, a lot of people have told me, oh, but what if they play bishop f5? What if they play bishop g4? Well, it doesn't really matter to me. Right now, I don't feel the need because I could always take with the queen. But if that's something I don't want to do, I could just do knight b to d2. It is a move that I have to do anyways. But I'm just going to keep it simple. To me, what is really important is that you guys get to experience the position types that come out of this system. Now, e5, again, with all of the openings that we have learned up to this point in the course, or actually before 104, you had never experienced something like this. Now, we know that they are taking advantage of the fact that the knight is pinned, and if we don't take, they could even do pawn to e4. So this is one thing that you are going to experience. If we had done knight b to d2, we wouldn't have to worry about this. We wouldn't have to worry about the knight coming over to put pressure on the bishop. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, they're hitting the bishop. Guys, honestly, I don't want you to be giving up the pair of bishops and things like that, but more than that, I want you to just make it to the middle game and play chess. So I'm bringing more defense to the knight. You could have done bishop e2, you keep the bishop, but it doesn't matter to me. As long as you make it to the middle game, you just play chess. For all I know right now, I'm a little bit ahead in development, so they need to develop a piece, and I'm going to be castling as quickly as I can. Now, I also have moves like this that I have to be paying attention to, but they're not that good right now. Bishop queen b3 is a move to pay attention to because we already did c takes d3, so things to keep in mind. Now, I'm just gonna castle, try to keep it consistent with b3 and bishop b2. So my point is that anyone who went over that lesson, remember where the pieces go and you just stick to it. So now I'm going to do b3 and bishop b2, even though it's not the same position. So bishop b2, and that's it. We got to the middle game. Now we play chess. Again, I'm not saying I did the right decisions, and I don't expect you to. As long as you make it to the middle game, we're going to be fine. Okay, so bishop e7. And by the way, guys, I didn't say it. We're starting with 1500. And hopefully we make it to 2000. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so time to improve my rooks. I could always do h3, but there's no rush. Rook c1, and maybe I could do queen c2 and put pressure on the c7 pawn. No, he's saying no. Now let me do it anyway. So there's no pin anymore, and I could even centralize the knight by hitting that bishop. So let's see what they're going to do. And again, this is already move number 12. We're just playing chess, nothing too crazy. And guys, as we get more advanced in the course, we're going to learn more about the Colle, we're going to learn more about the theory, the same thing with the London, and then we could talk about other things. But at this point in the course, I just want you to get to the middle game and play chess. If you lose your game, it's not because you don't know the theory of the Colle, it's going to be mainly because of some issues with your calculation or strategy or endgames or things like that. Now, my turn here, and I like the idea of centralizing the knight at the hitting that bishop. So why not? So knight e5, and notice how my pawn on d3. Typically in the Colle, we have it on d4, and it's nice because you support the knight and so on. But here with d3, I'm preventing this knight from getting into the center. Okay, so they're saying they don't really care if I take on g4. Okay, so maybe, and just maybe, we just take. So we have the option to take. That's my first candidate move. I could do pawn to d4. I could do f4, but it just doesn't really look good here. Or I could even do knight f3. You know what? Let me just take here. And automatically, I'm going to improve my other knight. That's it. And now I'm thinking of a few things. I look at the pawn structure. I got to this middle game in 50 moves that it's not so clear what my plan should be. Well, I know that we haven't talked about it, guys, but we need to be, let me actually wait. So before I go into that plan, so we have to consider here that minority attack. So that's something that if you're not familiar with, if you look at the queen side, we have these two pawns that compared to the queen side pawns for the black pieces, they are a minority, so we could use them to attack. So how do we do it? Well, we have to make contact on b5. If I'm able to do something like a4, b4, b5, then I'm going to be taking, and that pawn is going to be weak, so I can put pressure on it. So right now, this is a pawn chain, and the base, the weak pawn, is going to be on b7. But if I just get to b5, trade, that weak pawn, the base of the pawn chain, is going to be somewhere where I could put pressure on it. Of course, if I get to b5 now, I could just win it because I have a battery, but you guys get the idea. Now, knight d4 with the idea of knight b5 makes sense as well, but right now I gotta take care of this pawn. So let me do h3. I'm guessing they wanna do something like this, even though it doesn't make sense. Like if bishop h2, I'm not gonna take, of course, because they could do checkmate, but if bishop h2, I could easily just move to h1. Yeah, you see, so if I take with the knight, I'm gonna get checkmated in the next move. So I gotta move out of the way. And now this bishop is compromised because the knight has to move. When the bishop moves, when the knight moves, this bishop is going to be hanging basically. So I think we just got a piece right there, guys. And this is what we talked about last lesson. Notice how our opponent is 13-18. So most likely they're going to blunder if we don't do it first. So you see now, not only did they give us a knight, they traded pieces, and that's exactly what they don't want. They're losing. You want to keep pieces on the board to try to create some complications. Now, this is a move that makes sense because they want to do a check, but you and I know that's not enough. So let me just look, I could do g5, not only preventing the queen from getting there, but sort of fixing his pawn structure on the king side. So now I could be the one attacking, but I could have also done queen d4, just starting to activate my pieces. This should be now a pretty easy game, guys. Up an entire piece, it should be pretty easy. Okay, so I'm not concerned at all about that check, but I do need to activate my queen. And now let's just play chess. I'm thinking also of doing something like this and try to use the H file. Okay, so how about this? Remember, we're winning. If we are winning, simplification is the easiest way to do this. Many people are saying how they're blundering, oh, I was winning by a lot and then I throw it away. Well, you could, like we have said many times in this course, you could just go over and attack the king because you have an extra piece, or you could just simplify the game, leave your opponent with no counterplay chances. Okay, so look, they're hitting d3, so I could just do d4 and that would be a nice square for my knight, or I could do what I said before, capitalize on the h file. So let me calculate. King h2, they take, rook h1, and yeah, why not? Let me just do this. Guys, you could always keep it safe. Again, no counterplay, and don't let them take the pawn. You could have done d4, but let's see if this works. Also, remember how we talked about the minority attack? That's something that could have worked, but we'll do it in another game. Okay, so what are they gonna do now? I know that the queen is controlling h7, but we could find ways to add more pressure. And I'm even thinking of, instead of going here to open up the rook, I could go to g3. So I gotta make sure that it's safe, but 95, so that queen needs to be at, let me do this. Nah. Well, I could do it. Yeah, if they ever put me in check through here, I could just block with the queen. I should be fine. I just want to now double up my rooks on the h file. All of my heavy pieces on the h file. Okay, so they did that. Again, if they just simplify, fine, and I'm still going to double up because this pawn cannot be pushed. My g5 pawn is fixing them where they are. So let's see what they're going to do. Guys, 57 seconds, we have 3-second increment. I know that I asked in the survey if you wanted 5-5, but since we're doing lit chess instead of chess.com, we don't have the 5-5 preset. And okay, so now pawn or king. I'm gonna stay with the king because this is already an end game and the king needs to be centralized, but also I didn't want the rook to get to the back rank. Now still doubling up my rooks on the h file should be a pretty easy plan for us to follow. Now the most they could do here is something like a check on e4, but we shouldn't be concerned about that. And notice how, guys, I was talking before about the minority attack and everything else, but the moment they gave us a free knight, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let me just go with the plan. So I'm guessing they're gonna go up and then bring the rook to h8. But even if that's the case, don't forget that I have an extra piece. So if, let's say they go king g7, nope, they're going with a check. So I will say, okay, maybe they do it now, followed by rook h8. I can always reroute my knight and do something. Okay, so there we go. They did not even bother. And notice how these rooks cannot even get to my 7th rank. That's the most they could try to do to create some counterplay. But right now, no counterplay at all. I'm gonna be taking and then check and checkmate, of course, if they let me. Again, 55 seconds, enough to finish this. We have the increment. It's not like before that I have to be going crazy. But okay, so they decided to give us a pawn. Now, notice how the knight is going, the king is running, so I could double up or just try to simplify. You know what, double up is nice, but let's just keep this simple. Get rid of the rooks. And again, like I told you last time, if my rooks are gone, their rooks are gone, I'm going to be the one with a mantle piece on the board. It should be pretty easy to finish. And to make things even better, we have the same amount of pawns, so it's not like I'm down pawns or anything like that. Okay, so look, happy to trade my doubled pawn for that pawn, but let me first do check. The king has to go up to protect the pawn, but notice how my rook is the one now on the 7th rank. Now I could continue with another check. Yep, and if they take, of course, we get the rook. If they go here, that's gonna be checkmate. And no, not checkmate. They could go to d6, but I think I can just simplify everything after that. So no matter what, the king has to end up on d6 and we get a free pawn. Now, if we do it with full simplification, that's another story. And now they gotta be careful with f7. So if c5, not only do we have a fork, but f7 is coming. Guys, that's it. If they just down a knight, it's really hard to play this. Okay, so f7, let them get the knight. I promote even with a check. And now I don't think there's much they could do besides bringing the king over. And yep, I think bringing the king over is the only way. Nope. Okay, so we just promote. And this should be pretty easy for you guys. Now, what would be the fastest or the best way to do it? Right, let me just go check. And I think that we should have checkmate in a few moves, no matter what. Okay, so we take here. And that should be checkmate in the next move. Alright guys, so we got the first game, I think pretty interesting. Now, one thing that I wanted to say before we go to the next game, with the black pieces guys, if I go here, with the black pieces, I'm going to be doing, if they play e4, I'm going to be doing the Pirc. I could do a few games with the regular Pirc with knight f6, g6, and some with, of course, knight f6 and pawn to c6. That way you guys have some games with that too. If they play instead pawn to d4 or something else, then we play the King's Indian defense. Now, with the white pieces, let me say one thing. Again, I want you to just play or see some games with the Colle. Guys, I had a lesson with a student of mine who told me, oh, but if they do e6, I read a book where if they just do something like the Queen's Indian defense, it's better to do c4 and you gain more space. And what I told them is what I tell a lot of my students. Books could say that c4 is better because you gain more space and so on. But guys, this is only important if you are Carlsen playing versus Carlsen. Because Carlsen, I mean, if you're playing versus Magnus Carlsen, you need any advantage that you can get, like this pawn better on c4. But you also have to be like Carlsen to be able to capitalize on something like this. So I'd rather have you not do the best move that the book recommends. Instead, I'd rather have you stay in your elements by doing what we have talked about. Just same recipe, same recipe, and just play chess, okay? So you don't want the best move that the book recommends if you have no idea what the plans are afterwards and so on. Just make it easy for you. So anyways, let me go back, another 5-3, and hopefully we get the black pieces. That way we also get some games with it. Even though the main idea is to practice the Colle. I know we should have done that last time, but I wanted to show you how your openings should start from nothing. That's why we did it that way last lesson. Now guys, d4, I'm doing g6. If they had done e4, we could even transpose into the Pirc, but they said no, they're gonna keep it like a queen's pawn opening. And now after bishop g7, we got to the King's Indian defense. Now we're playing someone who is almost 1700. Let's see how they handle the King's Indian defense. Okay, d6. And now from here, this is the classical. So we have to decide if we want to do knight a6 or if we want to do e5 right away. And by the way, here you're gonna be hearing me talk a lot, but you guys asked for it. Now, this is the move that nobody does because they're, for no reason, without any provocation, they're doing d5 themselves. And we know that these squares are now ours. At least they're not controlling it with the pawn. They should have kept the pawns next to each other, at least for a little bit longer. Now, I'm just going to do a5 to accentuate c5. That way my knight could get there and it cannot be kicked out by a pawn. This one is gone. The b pawn will not be able to do much. So guys, look, this is almost a 1700. You might get things like this. And I know that when you learn the theory, when you learn the main ideas, no one tells you about these things, and it's just because it's not right. So you have to try to understand, okay, why is it that it's not right? Now, a4, another positional mistake, because now all of these dark squares are just weak and weak. So every time you push a pawn, you're creating weaknesses, and that's what they're doing with this move as well. They're not developing a minor piece like they should have, but on top of that, they're just giving me these squares. Now, do I want, well, I'm gonna go knight c5 because b4 is just not an option now. I have my pawn there controlling it. Okay, so now, do I want to do e6 or do I want to do e5? You know, just to keep it consistent, I'm going to throw e5 right there, and we get a position like if they had done just d5 after we challenge the pawn. That's how it should be, guys. You want to push the central pawn only when it's being challenged, because then this square is not available. Now, most likely my move was not the best move. Maybe I should have done something else, but this could transpose into a position that you are going to get more often. Now, what do I do with my bishop? I could do bishop g4 and just try to eliminate that knight, but you know, this is a pretty good bishop. Notice how my pawns in the center are on dark squares. So that makes this bishop pretty good. And I'm just putting more pressure on a4 just in case, developing my pieces. Now, if you're a King's Indian defense player, and if you have been following this course, you should know our plan. If you look at our pawn structure, notice how it is aiming at the king side. So we need to expand there. So now I need to move this knight and do f5. Now the question is, do I go knight g4? Do I go knight h5? Or do I go knight e8? Typically, I just do knight e8 or sometimes knight d7 simply because the knight cannot be attacked. If I go knight g4 here, I like it because I'm hitting the bishop, so I kind of do it with a tempo. But after bishop takes, pawn takes, h3, I'm gonna have to move the knight again. And no big deal, I could just go to h6, but I'd rather not go into that. Knight h5, very interesting. What they could do is move this knight, and then the bishop is hitting, but we could always do f4. Now, if I really wanted to keep it safe, knight e8 followed by pawn to f5. But let me look into something here. What if this move could work? Knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes, and then bishop f5. The queen can only go to h4. Queen is here. Bishop f6. No, it's not gonna work. But then what if knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes, and I do f5? Followed by f4. Nah, it's not gonna work either. So guys, you see, this move, of course, they don't work, but we have to look into them. We have to consider these candidate moves. Okay, so now, knight takes doesn't work directly, so I need to decide if I want this or this. Now, I'm just gonna do knight h5 because I like this idea of maybe going to f4. Now, I know that they could take doubling up my pawn structure, but that is fine because what that's gonna do is it's going to fix the queen side even more, and I'm going to be free to expand on the king side. So I'm gonna be the one pressuring on the king side. I'm gonna be the one with a plan. My opponent will not have any plans at all. And it's very uncomfortable to play a game, guys, if you don't have a plan. So let's see how they react. I'm expecting bishop takes knight, or maybe something like g3, that's something that they could do. But in reality, my main plan is f5, f4, and continue to expand here. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, your best chat is to go to lesson number 85, which is where we start talking about the King's Indian defense. Guys, bishop takes e5, a horrible positional mistake, because first they're giving us the pair of bishops, but they're giving us the bishop that is a good bishop. Look at the pawns that they have in the center. These pawns are on light squares, so that means that this bishop is bad, this was the good bishop, and they're giving us the good bishop. But on top of that, now all of these dark squares belong to the black pieces. So what they did is they just gave up on the dark square. So now I'm going to be the one getting to control them. I could place a knight there, I could place a knight on b4, on d4, and they just have no counterplay. Again, this is something you're gonna see a lot at the 1700, below 1800 rating. But as these players get more experience, they're going to understand it's just not a good idea. Okay, so knight b5. Now I could do knight f4, I really like that, or I could do f5 right away. Now let me just go with f5. Now guys, d6 might be something that they want to do. Let's see, maybe I should have just taken care of that, but I think we should be fine. Now if this player doesn't have a lot of experience against the King's Indian defense, yeah, they might be thinking about taking here. Now I could take with the bishop, or I could take with the pawn. Now, two things about this. If I really want to take with the pawn, because I get my hanging pawns, we talked about them on lesson number 104, believe it or not, when we talked about the Colle. They give you a lot of control over the center. I'm not concerned about my king getting exposed because I have the bishop, and this bishop we know could act as a pawn. Plus, it gives us the g-file to put pressure on that king, especially since my knight could get to f4. But in this case, I'm thinking if I do this move, they could do a discovered on my knight. So I'm thinking of knight here, bishop e5, and so on. So I have to consider that at least. Now, with that said, I think I should be fine here. I could also take with the rook, but not what I want. Now, bishop f5, it comes with a tempo, knight f4 after. So what's more important? So I'm thinking, if pawn takes, they could do knight e5. I take, then bishop takes on h5, but then I could do queen h4 or simply take first, check, followed by queen h4. So that's something to keep in mind. But you know what? Let's just take with the tempo. This isolated pawn is not going to matter because we are attacking. Oof, this would be a nice fork. This would be a really nice fork. See, that's when knight f4 comes handy. Guys, I'm doing it anyways because I don't have to explain again why these hanging pawns are important. But what I'm doing is they're gonna help me fix my pawn structure. I'm gonna get those hanging pawns. So maybe now rook e1, but they gotta be careful with e4 followed by queen g5. This is about to get really interesting for me as the black pieces. Another plan that you could think of is rook lift, rook rollover. We talked about these guys in the Colle. Even though we're not playing the Colle, we're using some of the ideas from that opening. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to use that opening. You're gonna be learning a lot of chess that is relevant to the different openings. Now, this rook, notice that it's defending f5. Maybe what you want is incorporate this rook that is on the queen side, doing nothing. And you could do it through the 6th rank. So who knows? All right, so now I'm gonna do e4. Notice how this knight cannot go to d4 because of this pawn. Remember when they took with the bishop, we took with the pawn, and that pawn is controlling d4. So they just cannot do anything on the dark squares. Our pawns, our bishop, is just very uncomfortable for them. Now, queen g5 directly or take. Well, oof, I even have this. This is gonna be nice. This is gonna be nice. So I'm thinking, guys, already, look, if I do this move, check, and then I do something like this, I could do the, what is it called? Anastasia, something like that. Well, let me just go check. I mean, prepare the conditions first. I just don't want to set up a cheap trick. I'm just trying to make sense out of this. Now, g3 might be coming, but we should be able to get out of it easily with a check on h3, check on e2, or we could ignore it and do queen h3. And then if they take, the rook comes over. Yeah, it should be pretty easy to win this. Yeah, now I'm gonna do this one. Maybe I'm making a mistake here. Yeah, I could have done this in between check, but I think we have to be winning, guys. Yeah, now this is just either to g6 or even to h6. This just has to be winning. Maybe it was not necessary doing what I did. Now, notice that even though we did 5-3, we are in time pressure, so not nice. Maybe I just increase it and we do some 10-minute games. But this should be fine. Guys, I'm thinking this is a move that they have to do if they want to. Nope. My mistake. So that would have been the best move. That would have been, well. Alright guys, so look, we were in time pressure, our opponent was not, and this person was almost 1700. So I know you said a lot, oh, maybe people were blundering a lot because we were playing 3-minute games. Well, you can see it, even at this level where they should be pretty strong, notice how they are blundering like that. And new opponent, and we're doing 5-3. Let's see, we should be getting someone around now. Yeah, 1700, okay. Black pieces again. I'm going to do d6, then knight f6. And guys, I could do g6 or c6. Let me do g6 this time from lesson 69. And you see, if I had done c6, then this plan was not going to be that effective. Okay, so castle. This plan unnecessary completely. But, well, let me just go knight c6. Now it is like if I were the black pieces, guys. I'm ahead in development. I'm even castled. I really don't understand this plan. Now, h6, just to see what they're going to do. I'm happy to take with the bishop. I'm not going to compromise my pawn structure. Okay, now, same idea. I'm going after that bishop because if I get rid of the bishop, I'm going to be in charge of the dark squares. Now, I'm going to keep putting pressure because, guys, I'm ahead in development. If I'm ahead in development, I want to take advantage of that. Now look, all of a sudden the white pieces are the ones reacting to my moves and they just blundered. They just blundered. Guys, again, 1700, plenty of time on the clock, and they just made a mistake there. Now the question is, do we take with the knight and then with the bishop, or with the bishop and then with the knight? Now, I think the right decision, the right choice is taking with the knight, collecting the pawn, we keep the pair of bishops, we keep the really good bishop, which is a dark square bishop. But I also like the idea of taking here first, then I take with the knight, and that's gonna give me a fork, and I continue to simplify the game. Now, with that said, I just don't feel comfortable trading for that bishop that is not even developed. So let me just do what I think is the right strategic continuation. And now look at this bishop. It has no one to stop him on the dark squares. This should be pretty easy to play now as the black pieces. We're up a pawn. We could say we're even ahead in development because we're castled. And we have the pair of bishops. One of them cannot be met by its opponent's bishop. So anyways, enough talk. Let's see what they're going to do. Okay, so I guess they're just happy to, or they want to take on h6. You know, I would even let them do that, but nah, not now. Okay guys, so typically when this pawn is on h6, the king comes to the rescue, either because they have a battery or because of something like this. Okay, so castling is not an option for them. They could go to the queen side. But anyways, you know, this could be like a little bit like leaving my bishop out of the pawn chain. Now f5, I like it. You know, I should do f5 just to activate more pieces. Yeah, let's do f5, guys. I was trying to make the queen get in, but I think we're going to activate the rook. Ooh, now they gotta be careful. Now, probably, again, this was maybe a better move to open up the rook, but I really like that I'm threatening that pin, but also I'm gaining more space, more control over the dark squares. Now, bishop e6. What should I do e5 first? Should I do a5? Okay, guys, opposite side, castling attack. Maybe we just do something like this. Now, you know what? Let me just activate my pieces first. Now, if they know what they're doing, most likely they're going to start creating something here. No, they're saying not today. Okay, bishop e3 would be nice because it comes with a tempo, but let me just stay on this diagonal. Guys, I have a feeling that we're gonna get something nice out of this game because those bishops there, it's just a very good indication that we're gonna get something. Now, you know what, c6. I was gonna do a6, but c6, we know that the queen can come out to a5, and this should be just, okay, queen b6 or b5. Queen b6 or b5. Okay, let me just do queen b6. I'm guessing if b3 we could do queen d4. Knight c4 doesn't work because we could just eliminate the defender and then checkmate. C3 might be a move, and that way the queen is protecting. Also, they're obstructing my bishop. Maybe c3 is the better continuation here for the white pieces, but who knows. Nope, they went there. And now guys, with throwing checkmate on b2 and a1, I think now they're gonna have to do c3, but that gives us another pawn. And now we're winning by 2 pawns. We have the pair of bishops. The only way we're gonna lose this game is if we blunder a piece. So now trading, I know that we have talked about simplifying the game when you're ahead, but guys, if I trade, first of all, it's not necessary. This knight is not gonna do anything. But also, if I trade bishop for knight, remember that I have told you so many times, it's not about the pieces that you trade, it's about the pieces that are left on the board. If I'm left with dark square bishop versus light square bishop, the chances of a draw increase by a lot. But another thing to keep in mind is opposite color bishops is a good idea or is beneficial for the person attacking. So I could just do that followed by a5 or a4. But what if I just do a5? So let me just attack. Anyways, my bishops are well placed for that. Maybe I just open up files. Now let me go all the way back. And d4 sounds or looks like a very good move. Okay, b5. Look, this is what they call a hook pawn. So this pawn is going to allow me to make contact and they have to react to it. So now you know hook pawns, we haven't talked about it much, but this is going to be, ooh. Now what if I take, pawn takes. Okay, I'm doing that, guys, because this time I'm left with same color bishops. I'm up 2 pawns and I'm going to open up that king by a lot. Okay, so rook b4, and it's a matter of time before I double up my rooks. Now, if they go to c2, I'm already looking at a skewer and also a fork. Well, now that we're going with check. If they go up, I think that's checkmate. So they have to go down. And guys, it doesn't matter where they go. The other rook is coming over. No, let me do this check first. Because then if they go up again, the other rook comes over and this is check followed by checkmate. Oops, sorry, checkmate. Okay, so you see, check. Not only are they dropping that rook, I'm just pushing the king away. That way it's not defending the rook. But we know this is going to be checkmate now. Guys, just like that, we didn't do anything extraordinary. We just, if we go back, we're playing the same openings that we've been talking about for a long time. And my opponent, this is again 1700, just did this weird maneuver, wasting time. And we went after the bishop. They didn't let us, so we continued to put pressure. And you know, this looks a lot, guys, like the game from lesson, I want to say maybe 90 something, when I talked about the Pirc versus the Fianchero variation. I showed you a game where I got this kind of initiative. They gave me a break and I went for it. So I think it looks like it was a good choice to just keep the dark square bishop and only trade it at the right time. Opposite side castling attack, we know from lessons number 58 through 63, I want to say, what we should do. So we went back, c6, queen b6, everyone going to the queen side, using the dark squares again. Guys, I think both games we have capitalized on the color complex. So c3, and now we just use the hook pawn to open up the position. The moment we could open it, we used the open file for the rooks. And a few moves later, guys, checkmate. Notice how this rook never participated. The bishop never participated. Okay, so new opponent. Hope that you were finding some value in these games, but I think you guys were right. I feel like we are having more time to discuss the moves. Okay, this lesson, instead of being about the Colle, is going to be about the black pieces, but okay, c4, guys, some of you have asked me, anything that is knight e4, you could just do your knight f6, play like the King's Indian setup. I'm gonna do g6 just to do that. It doesn't matter, I could transpose with this. Not a big deal. It's not like I'm playing the modern, I just do it with the intention of transposing. Now look, same thing as if they had done d4 first. This is now the King's Indian defense. Now, are they gonna do the classical or not? Look, we don't know. They could still do f3, they could do f4. I'm just gonna castle. and let's see what they do. Okay, knight g2 e2. We talked about this, I think lesson number maybe 87, where they could do knight g3, h4. Well, let us just strike the center. They don't have a knight here, then why not? Okay, so guys, look, same thing. This time it makes more sense because they were challenged, but now I'm just gonna go and you know what? Let me do a5 first. Now knight a6, knight c5. We should be more than familiar with this plan. That's it. And guys, I know that it might look boring, but it is as simple as that. I don't have to worry too much about openings because it's gonna be the same thing. Now, before I know they wanted to do it, I was never concerned because I could have taken and there's a pin there, so that's not a problem right now. Now, bishop d3 doesn't really make sense to me because I don't want to get that bishop. That's the bad bishop that they have. Okay, b4 is not a problem. Let me do bishop d7, and now I'm gonna get ready to move the knight and push. Okay, guys, same thing. I could do knight h5, knight e8. We already know what happens if they take. I have to be open to move like this. We have to be open to move like this. So let me see, knight g4, take, then h3. I have to move again. Now let me just go. Now another thing. Look, before knight h5 sort of could have gotten us into trouble because the knight would be hanging after f5. Here, after f5, take. If I want to take with the pawn, the queen could be over here. I mean, I don't see it happening anytime soon. You know what? Let me just go. Yeah, let me just go there. Here, I think I calculated. Even if this happened, they don't have any nice discovered attack with the knight, but something to keep in mind. For the most part, if I'm playing in a tournament game, I just put the knight back. Now here, look at this. They did not give us the bishop, so this tells us, look, this guy is above 1800. They understand the importance of the dark square bishop. But another thing that I wanted to highlight, this knight on h5 also helps us with this. So I think I'm happy to just take, and my monster is open. So all right, let me just trade, and now I could still do f5. Ooh, is this any good for me? They have to do rook f3 and then bishop g4. Almost good for me. All right, guys. So look, this is a move. Look, when you play in your games and you see someone doing a move that is not what the theory recommends, you gotta look for the reason why it's not recommended. And in this case, it's just that rook is very bad placed. So I could do bishop e5, they move, and then queen h4. I like that one. Or bishop a6, and this bishop g4 would be nice, but I can't. So maybe I trade, queen g5, and I get something there. But you know, I don't really see us getting much. Maybe bishop e5, followed by queen h4. Yep, let me go with that. And again, we are utilizing the weak dark squares. They still got the bishop, the dark square bishop, but since they did d5, this is gonna be weak, and we're going to utilize it. And that's one of the reasons why I said you want to push the pawn in the center if you're challenged. They did that, so fine. It's not like they made any silly mistakes, but just pay attention how we could use those weak squares. Now, guys, here they could do g3, but I think we could just take, pawn takes, queen takes, and then we pick up on e3, hanging piece. Or h3. And I like the idea of queen g3, threatening to get to h2 and attacking the bishop. So just like that, I think they got in trouble because of a move like rook f4. Let's see. And yeah, I'm talking a lot. I see that my opponent has almost the same time that he started with. I have almost 3 minutes only, so I guess I'm talking a lot. But you guys asked for it, so. Okay, so h3. Now I think, oh yeah, I think. I was thinking that if queen g3, they could do bishop f4, but we just take it. So, okay, guys, give me the bishop, or we just get in there, and this has to be nice for us. Plus, even this move is possible now. Okay, so check, and we get a rook. Is this necessary? Nah. Do I have it? You see, guys, so now this is obviously what we want to go for, but we don't have to do it right away. This is a good moment for you to double check. Look at alternatives. We know that if we do this, king f1, check, they go to e2. Okay, is there any way that we can block that e2? So look for moves. Don't just go, don't play mechanically, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Now I'm just gonna go with my check. I calculated a bit. I don't see anything concrete. Now check. And I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna go for this, guys. If you find something better, let me know in the comments, but I think this is it. We're up an entire rook. I checked that my rook couldn't get trapped, but I saw this pawn dropping. I'm happy to just take afterwards. Now, careful here with just taking for the sake of taking. And look, let's say they just do anything and I go bishop takes knight, pawn takes. Now I'm gonna be, and then I get this pawn. Let's say I'm just happy to get that pawn, people get greedy. That would be the worst thing you could do, because then I'm the one leaving this bishop without anyone to stop him. So if I give up my dark square bishop with this fianchetto, they could do bishop h6, queen d4, and I could get checkmated. So the other day, a student of mine was asking me if I would hesitate when I had this kind of position, if I would hesitate to trade my dark square bishop for even a rook. And I said, yes, you gotta be careful, especially if your opponent still has their dark square bishop. This formation without the bishop, without the fianchetto bishop, could get really dangerous. Now, they moved the bishop, and we gotta see what changed. Well, what changed is that e4 is now hanging. So I could just take, followed by knight e4, hitting the queen or the queen here, then the rook. And yeah, I think it should be fine. Guys, now look at what I'm calculating. I'm winning by a rook. I don't want to blow it. I don't want to be greedy, but I'm calculating this. Take, they gotta take with the pawn of the rook. I mean, the pawn of the queen. Either move, I'm gonna go knight e4. Oh, but then queen f6 doesn't work because the knight's there. So they gotta move the queen. Let's say here, I get that rook, bishop h6. I can always do f6, blocking the queen from g7. If the bishop takes a rook, I simply replace it. Don't forget that we're winning by a lot. So now we're gonna test if my calculation is accurate. If it's not, just know that we might as well lose this game. So I like it because I'm doing it with the tempo, hitting the queen. Queen d4, most likely. We're gonna get that rook and bishop h6. Oof, and I just realized we even have a check. You know what? Check and then rook e5. That might be it. That might be it. The only thing I don't like about this position, if I could improve it, is my queen being completely out of the game. Now, I'm far from being under attack, but something to keep in mind. Now, let's see. They don't have any knights. Their queen is being attacked. We should be okay here. We should be okay here. Okay, so we take. Guys, only chance for them now is, no, they did not even care. Okay, check. I know this rook looks weird, but it's just temporary. Now, how can I improve my queen? You know, worst case scenario, I would just give my bishop, but I don't think I need to do that. Not right now. No, no. Okay, let me just do this. So this is not a threat, but just in case, but more than anything, I'm just getting ready to double up my rooks and try to do something on that side. So actually, if I double up my rooks, I could do rook e4. Just look for ways to just capture this pawn. I need my queen into the game. Oh, I think, okay, this one looks more powerful, but I was thinking into this, b3, take, and then the queen d1, but the queen is defending. Okay, let me just go with a check. Guys, this should be pretty easy now to finish. Most likely, king goes to c3 or b3. Yeah, and this queen is just... What am I missing here? Am I missing anything or not really? Now, a4 is a move that comes to mind. You see, I'm just looking for candidate moves. a4, rook e4, something to do with this. No, not yet. Okay, if rook e4, they have to go here. Okay, let me do this. They gotta continue to defend the bishop. This would run into some kind of discovered attack. So queen d2 has to be the move. a4, then I could follow with a check. Even though I don't really care about that check, I could have done this followed by this, but let's just see what they do now. Okay. It's time to get my queen out, guys. Now, my queen is coming out with the threat of taking on c4. And if the bishop does something, I don't think they can. Yeah, maybe something like this. I could just go queen b3 and checkmate is in the air. Again, we have only 20 something seconds left, but this should be fine. Okay, so is there any way that we can continue to... Okay, how about c5, pawn takes, pawn takes. Guys, I'm just paying attention to my queen not getting trapped. Ideas like this, they don't work yet, but I have to be very, very careful. Now, c5 is just to open up lines towards that king. Queen c4, not yet. Okay, so check. I just keep putting pressure on that king. Sooner or later, I gotta get to it, guys. Okay, so finally the king is gone. I could take on c4. Oh, 5 seconds. So I gotta focus. I don't want to lose this game on time. So what options do I have? Now king has to go here. Is checkmate or yep, that's an option. Okay guys, so now rook c8, queen b6. Okay, 6 seconds. I should be winning this easily. Okay, so that's a good move. Oh, come on, I can't believe this. I got flagged. Okay guys, so not nice. Okay, anyways, bishop, you could have won this anyway. So bishop f5, queen d7, anything, queen f, anything. Like, we're winning by so much. All right, it happens. So guys, at least regardless of the result, notice how once again we played the king's Indian defense easily. We got a nice position, knight h5, took, and the moment we started to work on those dark squares, the game was pretty easy. All right, there you go. We lost that one, new opponent, and we gotta pay more attention. So I don't know why I fell asleep with that. Okay, so let me just do my Colle. Finally, white pieces. Let's see if we get d5. You know what? Actually, regardless, anything that they play, well, I'm gonna do the same setup. So let's see if they play something other than d5. Okay, so we are back at 1800. We're playing another 1700 player. Guys, I'm planning to eventually just do another speed run with my regular account. That way you see me playing games at that level. But you saw me playing all the way to 1500. Now in this level between 1500 and 2000. Okay, so d4, and let's see what we get here. Now I really wanted to, there you go. So I want to see them playing the king's Indian defense setup because a lot of people have asked about that. So I'm gonna do my b3. Now for a lot of my students, I just don't even stress the difference with the king's Indian defense. If they want to put the bishop on d3 is fine. Now notice that I'm delaying it because when I see this setup, I think we should do bishop e2. The thing with bishop d3 is same thing that we talked about in the London. I think you saw me last lesson doing it. When you put the bishop here, in the king's Indian defense, we know that e5 is thematic. And that e5 many times comes with e4 if the bishop is on d3. Of course, the rook has to be behind and so on. So in order to prevent that, you could just do bishop e2 and the bishop is going to be well placed on e2. Now, another thing is, okay, so a4, we learned in the king's Indian defense versus London that you could do some ideas with a3 and even b4. But, you know, let's just do a4. This is something easy for you to remember. You see that? I don't want him to just do a4. So we do this. If they go b5, I think, oh, actually they did. I think we just get a free pawn right there. Just like that. Now, I was going to say, guys, what I expect you to do is if they play the king's Indian defense or they play anything, to just use the same ideas. Of course, we could not do 95. Well, just do the c4 idea. Just play chess. Once you castle here, you are already in the middle game. You just play chess. If you were playing against, if you were playing for the World Championship, you were playing at the elite level. Yes, it's important that you know the difference between the plans and so on. But at this level, at my level, it's not that important. Just put your pieces where they belong and play chess. Okay, so they want to put pressure on d3. Let me just look c4. I'm just gonna go c4. It looks a little bit weird because I'm leaving my bishop out, but they don't have pawns to attack me, not even knights for that matter. So let me just do that. Next, I might want to just do queen e2 to do e4, get full control over the center, and let's see if we get this game over with. So the game that I lost on time before, I'm gonna take it out on this guy. All right, so I could do this knight before. No, let me just take it. I'm winning by a pawn, enough for me. Plus, I don't want that knight to get active. Plus, this move now comes with a nice threat on that hanging rook. But in reality, I just want to do this e4. Okay, e4, get out of here. And let's play chess. So a4, is that something that they want? Okay, let's see. Guys, there you go. This bishop g4 early in the opening or now, I don't mind it. I have another knight defending. Okay, e5. There you go. Now notice that I'm pushing, but I still have control over d5, b5, and so on. Now, knight, pawn, queen. I like the idea of the pawn. They move e6. I have to prepare it. Okay, guys, knight e5. You see, in the Colle, we talked about placing a knight on e5. Well, you see it here. Many moves later, a completely different position, but it's the same ideas that we have talked about. Okay, g4 might come handy. But g4, bishop goes back, g5. No, I don't see anything concrete. Well, maybe I do. So I'm thinking g4, bishop moves, queen f3, and then when I do g5, I could get to f7. And you know what, guys? I'm not compromising that much because my king is not going to be that exposed. Plus, his pieces are more on the queen side. So they're far from creating any attacks here. I could even do f4, f5, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't want to open my king up that much. Okay, so what about this? Queen f3 with the idea of doing g5 and f7. I'm activating my queen. Bishop b7 could be in the air, but I could do d5, opening up my bishop. So g5 now doesn't work. But what if I did this? 94. Okay, I'm gonna do g5 and then 94. I just want my knight to get here and here. Guys, this is gonna be really nice if I get my knight. Oof, look at that. So bishop b7, if I take, they get my queen. So do I have any in-between move? Maybe d5. d5, they move. Nah, that would be just getting myself into trouble. Now, queen f4. Now, queen f4, I'm thinking if they just move back, I could do knight g6. Oh, no, the knight will be defending. Well, let me just stay here. If I go with queen f4, knight h5 comes with the tempo, but that knight is going to be pretty awkward on h5. They said they don't care about being awkward, and that's okay. So queen e3. Guys, that's it. My knight is still in the center, pretty powerful. I'm pretty sure they want to do something like this, but they can't. But even if they did, I have so many ways to take care of it. And that's one of the downsides of doing g4, g5 like I did. Okay, so I guess it's just time to take. Now that's it. Those rooks so powerful. The moment I trade one of them, that's it. It's just one rook on the a file. Still, I gotta be careful, but it's not a big deal. Now rook e1, rook here. Okay, let me do this, guys. One plan. You know what? Let me just do. One plan is to just ignore this rook. The other plan is to not ignore it. It could get tricky. Now, I was thinking of this, but bishop takes, pawn takes, queen c4. Oh, knight c5. Nah. Now, what about c5, knight c4, knight here? Well, let me just do this first. If I just do c4, this rook could get... Let me just get rid of that rook. Anyways, my rook is doing nothing. So, it makes sense for me to trade my rook that is doing nothing for his active rook. Okay, now, bishop c3. The pieces that I have are pieces that are active, they can help, and now I could find ways to do maybe c5 and so on. I'm not concerned. Okay, there you go. Oof. Well, I can always do something like this. All right, let me just do c5. Maybe queen d5 is what they want. Okay, now I could do this. Guys, they just want some check on the back rank. But what if c6? That's it. So the bishop is blocked. My pawn is getting... That's a passed pawn. It's going to get to the end. So they have to be very, very careful now. Very, very careful. Now, if knight c4... Yep. And And that's it. I'm always gonna have a knight here, and my pawn is just getting really dangerous down there. So guys, that's the pawn that we won at the beginning, and that's enough. As long as I do not blunder here, as long as I don't run out of time like before, we should be fine. Now, what are they going to do? Okay. Now, if I did something like this, what are you going to do about it? Well, queen f3. This will be check, and then they take on. Knight b6. Or I could do c7 first, bishop d6. Now, let me just... Okay, so guys, we gotta calculate here. We have time. So queen f3, they could do check, and then take on g5, and then I just move. Not what we want. I could do a prophylactic move, just get out of that, but I don't think it's necessary. I could do knight b6, hitting that bishop, only move, c7, c8. It would be nice if they didn't have that move. Oof, how about this? Notice how their pieces are just not coordinated. And this knight specifically is not doing much. Now, knight f7, guys, we gotta calculate. We have to consider everything. Okay, bishop d6 is not in the air right now. So if I did king g2, queen f3, might be even more powerful. f6. Okay, let me just do this, guys. And I'm doing this move simply because they don't have anything. Like, this knight cannot do anything. The bishop cannot do anything. Considering that I'm even controlling this in these. This bishop cannot do anything. So it's just to get away from this check and then get check and then capture it on g5. At the same time, I have to be careful. I got my king somewhere where the knight could attack, but that knight has another plan. It has another plan. Now, what if I just do this, get this out of here? That would be nice, actually. All right, let me just do this. Guys, maybe not the best plan, but I just want to stay out of trouble. You see, if I had done this with the knight here, that would have been a very, very bad fork for us. Okay, so if they trade, we get into an endgame where we have the passed pawn on c6. If they don't, well, I guess this is going to be the move. Bishop d2. Guys, maybe completely unnecessary, but just something for you to keep in mind here. Bishop d2. Let me just go here. Okay, 10 seconds. We cannot make the same mistake as before. We cannot lose this game on time. It just cannot happen. Oof, look at this. Why am I missing this? Maybe that was the plan. Okay. Okay, what are they going for? I don't really care. Okay, they could take the knight. I'm just going to get a queen. No, they're saying I'm not going to get any queen. Okay, they dropped the piece. Maybe bishop c8 was the right move, guys. Now this one, we're not going to lose it on time. I cannot let that happen again. Okay, so I think now it should be pretty easy to win. Either they trade the knights and then we promote. There's no light square bishop. Or they leave and we try to deflect the knight. I could just promote, yeah. Or I could just try to deflect it. You know what? I'm not even going to sweat it. We know this is a guaranteed win and we're going to take it. Maybe not the most elegant way, but... Okay, so let me do this. This guy is not going to get active in any way. Bishop e7 is not possible. Bishop e4 is coming. Now this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, let me just do this. Everything is under control. Notice how now they're just looking for things to take. I just gotta make sure that I don't blunder anything. Now my knight is not letting the king get out. I just need to look for that check. I mean, I could do so many things, activate the king. So I don't know why I'm sweating it. Maybe I'm just looking for a fancy checkmate, which we don't need. So bishop a5 might be coming. So these are the moves that they're looking for. Something to create complications. Okay. And unnecessary what I'm doing here, but who knows? Maybe we get a nice checkmate. Now I could just put a knight here and one knight here, get another pawn. So that's always in the air and they know it. Let me just activate the king. Their king cannot go anywhere. They only have the bishop. So another plan is getting that bishop out of here, but let me just be fine. And I'm getting some time back. I got 25 seconds. Okay, knight c5 now. Nah. Oh, maybe I could. Nah, let me just go here. Yeah, we knew that could happen. Now this is getting my knights. Nah. Nah. Okay, guys, so let me know if you find something better here. Like a clear plan is to just... Okay, what if I just do knight check? So many ways to win this. Why am I... Okay, let me just do this. Again, I could just offer a throw of bishops. I could just finally anything, but let's see if we can make something nice here without losing on time. Knight f6, king has to get here. Yeah, okay. So en passant. And now this pawn is just gonna promote, guys. So either they give me the bishop and that's it, or we just promote that pawn. Yep. Now always, I mean, we're far from that, but always pay attention to stalemates in these endgames. We're winning by so much that we don't want to give up. We don't want to throw this away. So now I think this is pretty much over. Okay, so I'm just gonna go here. They could take the knight. We're just gonna promote, and our opponent is not showing respect. They're not going to resign. Yeah, so they just resigned, and guys, I'm going to leave it here. I think we got a few nice games. This is the downside of playing longer time controls. We get less games, but I have to agree with you. I feel like we got better quality when it comes to me explaining the moves and the ideas. And I hope that you got some value out of these games. It was mainly about maybe King's Indian defense, but we got a couple games with the Colle. Very important quickly before we stop. Guys, remember, if they play the King's Indian or anything, just try to do the same setup. The only main difference is maybe putting the bishop in e2. It could be beneficial, but at this point in the course, I just want you to do this, guys, over and over. Just get your pieces where they belong, castle, and then play chess. Get exposure to these position types, to these ideas. Of course, you see a5. We have talked about these ideas already when we talked about the King's Indian versus the London. We talked about this a5. So you could do what I did, a4, and just play chess. From there, look, my opponent blundered before I did anything. If they hadn't blundered, maybe knight b to d7, I castle. Then I could do maybe c4 and just play chess. That's what I'm expecting you to do. If you get to this point and you lose your games, it's not because of the opening, it is because of your middle game and end game, which you're gonna continue to improve. We have a lesson pending on strategy, middle game strategy. We need to get that in, but maybe I give you something else before. Let's see. For now, let me know in the comments, please, if you think this was a better lesson than the 1 with 3 minute games as far as explanation and everything else, or if I just talk too much, you'd rather keep it down at 3 minutes. So with that said, I talk to you guys in our next lesson.